and welcome to The Extra Mile. I'm Linda Boudreaux. Our guest today is Heidi Paterson. Heidi is the Development Director for Lafayette Animal Aid, which may be one of Acadiana's better kept secrets. So we're going to find out a little bit more about what they do over there today. So Heidi, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you. We're really appreciative for the opportunity. And yes, I'm the Development Director for Lafayette Animal Aid. We're located in Karen Crow. We're a no-kill shelter. We rescue both cats and dogs, and we have a beautiful shelter that's located on 10 acres of property out in the country. And we've been rescuing and sheltering and doing many other things for about 40 years now in the community. So it's a wonderful opportunity to come in and tell everyone more about that today.
So you've been around for a while. I didn't realize that Lafayette Animal Aid was quite that old. How did you get started?
It got started about 40 years ago by 3 women who were just passionate about rescuing animals that were in desperate situations and seemed to have little hope. And from there, it has grown to a very large shelter. We shelter about 300 cats and dogs on any given day.
Wow.
It continues to grow, and we're working at the problem of overpopulation in Acadiana of homeless animals is huge. So we're definitely working on expanding and growing even larger. That's the goal.
Of course, the other goal might be spay and neuter, but hey, who am I to say? Huh?
That's true.
You know,
that's a big piece of it for certain.
But we'll get to that later.
Yes.
Let me ask you first: How do people get? How do the animals come to you, say, rather than the Lafayette Animal Shelter? I mean, if somebody wants a no-kill shelter and they can't keep their animal, how do they do that?
We take animals in a variety of ways. We do rescue from our municipal shelters. We try to help them. They have a tremendous task of taking in a lot of animals, and their resources are small. So we do try to help our municipal shelters by pulling animals.
Okay, so if
from
there's
those
an animal
shelters
there that maybe has not been adopted, then you'll be able to go and maybe rescue that animal.
We do the best we can to take as many as we can, and we also take owner surrender animals. A lot of people have very legitimate reasons that they have to surrender animals. Sometimes they have to move, and maybe they're going overseas or they're going into the military. A lot of people have health issues that become a big problem for them, where they can no longer keep an animal. A lot of people pass away and leave behind an animal. So there are a lot of what we call owner surrenders that we take in, and then quite often we just find animals wandering on the highways, in the woods, in fields, parking lots that are starving or in bad condition, and our own staff will pick them up, rescue them, and bring them in. So there's quite a variety of different ways.
And once they get there, do you try to adopt them out?
We do. That's the ultimate goal, is to bring them in, to get them healthy, and to find wonderful forever homes for them. We are also one of the few shelters in Acadiana that will give priority to sick and injured animals. Quite often those animals at other shelters are put down pretty quickly, and we've made a commitment to try to come up with resources to help those animals that have been hit by a car, that are found, out in the community, or animals that have had bad infections that have gone untreated for a long time. So that is something that I'm very proud of about our shelter, and that I think is very unique, that will give a focus and a priority to those animals.
So they have a chance then?
Yes, they have a chance.
So you must have, I would imagine, several Lafayette vets must be working with you to kind of help with all of this?
We do. We have several veterinarians in the community that do contract work for us, and we also have a vet of our own and a vet assistant. So we're very fortunate to have our own med-surg clinic on premise with a vet.
Isn't it
help.
amazing? The three women just one day said, I don't like the way this is going, and look at us 40 years later. It's just pretty incredible what a visionary with a community behind them can accomplish, huh?
It is. And we have the need to keep growing that, and you can if you're willing to go, I believe, as development director, if you're willing to go out into the community and just ask, that there are a lot of animal lovers out there who understand the problem and care and will have compassion and respond. So,
okay, so Heidi, what do you need?
We need a lot of things, obviously. I think a lot of things that people don't often think of. Like all other animal shelters, we need people who are willing to foster animals. Sometimes the need to take animals in is much greater than the space and the resources that we have at that moment. And so we have a wonderful program that's called fostering, where you can sort of babysit, I would have to say, an animal for a short period of time while we're waiting for an opening where we can take that animal. So I think it's a wonderful, unique way. I think about families with children, and during the summer months, if they wanted to do a really wonderful project at home, fostering an animal gives them the experience of taking care of an animal, learning the responsibilities involved in taking care of an animal, and receiving a lot of love and companionship from that animal for a short period of time without the long-term commitment. It's a wonderful learning process, I think, for children in homes. So we're looking for fosters. We're looking, of course, as always.
Let me just stop you there for a minute, because I want to talk a little bit about fostering.
Yes.
I think it's a great idea for people that don't want to make a full-time commitment, but that are willing to take an animal for a few weeks or a few months and then get a break and then take another animal. But how do you screen the animals, or do you look for compatibility between the fosterer and the animal? I mean, not every animal is going to get along with every person.
Exactly. We, for instance, we have some dogs that come in and they're dogs that are not compatible with other dogs. They have territorial issues. Sometimes there are dogs that we take in that don't get along well with cats. And sometimes there are dogs that we take in that don't get along with very small children. Very small children can be rambunctious and
pull their
loud.
tail and
So we do spend some time kind of getting to know each animal's personality, and we recognize through testing right at the shelter, what their personality will tolerate, where they should be best placed, and we have a pretty good idea of that kind of information about each and every animal. One of the unique things that I think we've done with fostering is that we've actually created a program for older folks in our community who want to have a pet for companionship, but many older folks are afraid that that pet might outlive them.
Yeah, they don't want their pet to outlive them, because then again it ends up back in, back in your system.
Exactly. And many older folks are concerned about, they may be on a very fixed budget, a very tight budget, and they do understand that owning an animal has expenses involved. And so what we've done is we've created a program where if older folks would like to have a pet for an adoption, we call it long-term fostering, where they take in an animal that they have chosen, that they feel compatible with, and we pay for all of the vet expenses for that animal, and we can provide all of the food for that animal.
So it makes it affordable.
It does.
So fostering can be either short-term or long-term.
It can.
And the benefit to fostering is that you pay for the food and the vet.
The benefit to the person who's doing the fostering is, yes, that we provide the care, the vet care, and even the food for that animal. And the benefit for us is then we can rescue more animals.
Exactly. And the benefit for the animal is that it really does have a home.
Yes.
Yeah. How do you said a minute ago that you do some assessment. How do you assess the animals to know which ones are safe, which ones are, going to be good with wherever? I mean, you've got to do something because you don't know them when you find them.
Exactly, and there are really stringent testing practices that you put in place with animals. We do that even as a shelter when we go into a municipal shelter where there are a lot of dogs, and we have to maybe select animals that are the most adoptable to pull them out. And there are certain things that we look for in the way that animals behave and react to us, and we make some initial selections based on that. And then once they come to the shelter, they're actually exposed to other dogs, and we can see how they react once they're kind of in a calm or settled down environment. And we actually have an area where we have some kitty cats that get along really well with dogs, and they allow us, the kitty cats allow us to bring dogs in to see how dogs then react with the cats. Of course, in very controlled, an environment where the kitty cats are never put at risk.
Right.
But we begin to learn these things. We begin to see how they react when food is brought to them and food is taken away from them. So in probably the first week that a cat or a dog is in a shelter, we learn an awful lot about them. And at our shelter, we're very hands-on with the animals. They get a lot of attention, they get a lot of love. So these things are easy to recognize and identify.
Because I'm thinking that when they get there, they've got to be a tad traumatized. I mean, they don't know what happened. And so do you have volunteers to do this early work? I mean, or is there a place for volunteers? Because it sounds labor intensive.
It is. It's very labor intensive. We have about 25 volunteers at our shelter that work on a regular basis with us, and even more who come sporadically. And we have a staff of about 13 people as well. And at our shelter, each and every day, every dog is taken outdoors. They have playpens where they play and run and get fresh air. The volunteers walk them up and down a long country road where they get a lot of exercise. And we have a garden area where the dog and the volunteers sit and play. With the kitty cats, we have a beautiful cat cottage that's owned and kind of run by the cats that live there. It's something to see. It's very unique. And the volunteers go in, including children, go in and sit and spend time with the kitty cats and play with them and
the importance of that is to make sure they don't become wild or feral, and that they continue to relate to humans.
Yes.
Because the goal is for them to have a home. Is that a fair thing to say?
That's very fair and very important. Shelter life can be incredibly hard on an animal, as you can imagine. If, as a human, you were put in that
Well, I think of an
situation.
infant or a small child.
Yes.
Like some of the studies show with attachment disorder with children. I don't know how different it would be with an animal that we wanted to be a pet.
Yes.
So,
part of our goal is to continuously be socializing them and exposing them to human contact and interactions so that when they are adopted into forever home, that's a smooth transition for the people adopting and for the pet.
So I'm thinking this has got to be a tad expensive.
Yes.
And you are a nonprofit. Do you get
Yes.
grants, or where does your funding come from?
Yes. That, as development director, that's one of the primary responsibilities that I have. There are many grant opportunities, and I do very frequently explore those. We have some wonderful national organizations in our country: Best Friends, Charities, Banfield, the American, Humane Society, and all of those big national organizations actually work hard at trickling dollars down to local shelters, and it's very, very helpful. I doubt we could survive without them, and they offer some incredible grants for spay and neuter programs and adoption events. So we do utilize that, but more importantly, we have to reach out to our own community and ask for help. We have to ask for help, as far as the dollars, as far as fostering, as far as volunteering. and even businesses that are willing to do building repairs or ground maintenance. We've had like air conditioning companies locally who have donated air conditioning units in the summer when we've lost, our air conditioning. We've got, we've got a very big operation, and there are many, many ways that people can help us.
So for those animal lovers out there, if they want to do something, it can be either hands-on or write a check or work in the garden or whatever. There's a place for them?
Exactly, there is.
Okay.
There have actually been many communities now across the country that have become no-kill communities, meaning that animals in those communities are not euthanized unless it becomes, a severe medical problem or behavioral problem. And those communities have been very successful in achieving that simply by going out to everyone in their community and saying, if you can do one single thing to help us, it'll create this kind of change. Something as simple as donating a bag of pet food, all the way up to making an adoption, being willing to do an adoption of an animal, or donating money. But sometimes the very smallest things are most appreciated.
And sometimes that's how we start.
Yes.
So we are not a no-kill community.
Right, we are not.
Is that on the horizon? Is there any discussion about that?
I think it will be a very long-term goal. There is a lot of work and many things to accomplish before that happens. But that is definitely our goal, and we see it as being possible, and we're very hopeful for that.
Then we need to have the conversation.
Yes.
And I asked partly because before we started today, I asked you, how did you end up over there? And I guess your story kind of makes me realize how important working toward a non-kill mindset is.
Yeah. Well, what I did share was that 2.5 years ago, I moved here from Virginia, from the Norfolk area, and I've lived many places all over the country, and I came here to be with family, with a daughter. And after I had been here for several months, I was very disturbed by the number of abandoned animals and the number of animals that were killed and lying dead on highways everywhere I drove, driving around and seeing many animals on chains and ropes that didn't appear to be well cared for. And for me, being the animal lover that I am, it was just really heartbreaking for me. And after being here for about 3 months, I really felt like I couldn't settle here and be happy here. I gave serious thought to just leaving and going back to Virginia. And at one point, I just sort of made a decision that I could do that, or the other thing that I could do would be just to get down and get to work and see what I could do to maybe get involved and change the problem. So I did. I started volunteering some services at local adoption events, and from there got on to a board of directors, and from there learned a little bit more about Lafayette Animal Aid and was very impressed and went to them and did some work for them, and things just sort of moved in the direction where it needed to be for me, and that was to do the work that I'm doing now, going out to the community and saying, we do have this big problem and we do need help, asking for the help.
And with all of us working together, because these animals are all our animals. I mean,
Yes.
in a community, everyone and everything is connected, and it's
Right.
not somebody else's problem, it
Right.
is our problem. So
Right.
we can all do things. And you have a guardian angel program.
We do. Our Guardian Angel program is a monthly pledge program. And that means that we're asking not only individuals but businesses in our community to please think about giving back by making a pledge each month. It could be as little as $10 or it could be much more. But if we had enough individuals and businesses in our community who would make that kind of commitment, that commitment would sustain us. And then from there, whatever we brought in, we could do more and more and more and get bigger and accomplish more. So I'm really trying to work hard at getting out and letting everyone know that we have this wonderful program. You can learn more about it on our website, and it's very significant in the way that you can help us, and we can then turn around and help the community.
Right. And you know, the good thing about those pledges is you can build a budget around
Yes.
around an income that you can, you know,
Right.
think
It
you're probably going to get.
becomes
So
dependable.
yeah,
Yes.
which is a big part of it.
It is.
And the other two programs that I want to mention, and I don't want time to get away from us, is the I Read to Animals program, which I think is just enchanting. What is that?
The I Read to Animals program is a wonderful program that was started by a national organization called Best Friends a few years back, and we've adopted their program as our own. And what we do is we have some beautiful rescue dogs that have become certified trained therapy dogs. They're very gentle, very just lovely animals. And we go into all of the second grade schools in Acadiana with these dogs and with a program that we bring to the little boys and girls in the second grade. And we try to focus on children that are struggling with their reading skills. And we go in and it's a defined program that we bring to the children. They are put in a situation where they can read to these therapy dogs, and children become very comfortable in that environment. They find it really relaxing and
to read to the
somewhat,
dog.
yeah,
and the dog doesn't judge them.
and somewhat intriguing. We've even had children that have handicaps that made reading very difficult for them warm up to that at such a level that they became very comfortable in reading openly, which they had never done before. It's just been a heartwarming program. And the materials that we bring in for the children to read are actually materials that teach children, you know, humane and compassionate practices towards children. So we're kind of trying to do two things: encourage children to read and kind of give them an avenue that they're encouraged, you know, they're excited about getting in and reading every day. And at the same time, we're teaching them, you know, this is the right way to take care of animals. This is the right way to approach them. This is the right way to care for them if you adopt them and take them into your home.
So you're building that skill level as well. And in the last couple of minutes, again, I don't want time to get away, but you do have a pet food.
We do.
program?
This past year, we also established the Acadiana Community Pet Food Bank, and it is in place so that families that are struggling economically and worried about keeping an animal in the home because finances are difficult can reach out to us, and we will help them with food. We're trying to provide a service where people don't have to surrender their animals, that they can keep, you know, animals in their home. And it's turned out to be a wonderful program. We've handed down over 20,000 pounds of food this past year, and primarily to single mothers, homes where there's been a single mother who's wanted to keep a pet in the home for the children, and to elderly folks, you know, as I said before, that are on a fixed budget.
So people that
and
either
really
have to feed their
struggling.
kids or themselves or feed their pets, and
Yes.
they can't feed them all.
And that's quite often true.
Yeah.
And the most amazing thing has happened with our community pet food bank, in that children across Acadiana have taken it upon themselves this past year to make that their project, keeping it stocked with food. And hundreds of children have actually, for their birthday parties, given up, you know, receiving gifts in lieu of people bringing pet
What a
food
great idea.
as donation. And kids have had lemonade stands, and Girl Scout and Boy Scout troops have raised huge amounts of pet food donations and brought them in. And to me, it's just, it's brought tears to my eyes
and
at times.
We're going to end on that note with tears in your eyes.
Yes, the beautiful work.
Kudos to the kids of Acadiana.
Yes.
Heidi, thank you so much.
Thank you,
for being here
Linda.
today.
Really appreciate it.
And thank you for watching The Extra Mile.